Hello there, and welcome to week two. I wanted to go over a few things that we're looking at for this week. This is kind of a good spot to reflect on what we did last week in week one, and then also look at what we're going to be doing with weeks two, really through the rest of the term, because it kind of gives a context for the rest of these assignments and kind of provides a little bit more context for you as the student to be able to realize how all this kind of fits in together. I often get questions of, why do we have to read literature as college students? Of course, my background is in English, and I have just a born love for literature, and I enjoy reading and finding about the characters and the authors and all of that type of stuff. But to give you, how does this fit in with your college experience? I wanted to kind of talk to you about a few things that'll kind of help give you an overview and really a focus for the rest of this term. So last week in week one, we had the two stories, and we also took a look at the literary devices and the literary terms, and most of them students are already familiar with. You've been exposed to them at other times during your educational journey. So for most of you, it was a review. But one of the important things about doing that review is to kind of put us all on the same page with the same language about what we're talking about. So we're all talking about these literary texts and these authors. So we're using the same common language. The same thing if we were in a biology class, we would have a common language that we would talk about. So that kind of, is a nice way to start and put us all on the same level, the same foundational level as we start talking and digging deeper into these literary texts. So that serves as a good reminder. So a lot of these skills in a literary class will transfer over into some of your other classes, because the first thing is you have to have a common language, and you'll learn that in your other subjects. And then we need to start learning about what the basics part of this subject is. And so for this class, it's the literature that we're going to be reading. And biology is going to be other things, but for literature, we're going to be digging into these stories. And I bring that point forward this week because in week two, you have a essay that's going to be due. It's a response essay, and that is it's our shortest essay, really. And it's the only things that you're going to be looking at are the stories that we have read in weeks 1 and 2. Okay, so we read 2 in week 1, and then we're doing these additional 3, Miss Brill, A Rose for Emily, and Young Goodman Brown. So in addition to the other 2 that we read last week, The Lottery and The Story of an Hour. So you're going to be writing an essay. Let me see if I can pull that up here. That's going to dig into one of these texts. And this is important in this part of the course because you are going to be really digging in deep and looking for the text evidence of what you're going to discuss, okay? So if we look at the response paper, you have 4 different choices of prompts, and you're only going to choose one of them. And you're not going to use any outside resources and it's very purposeful here, because you're going to be looking at the texts themselves and really digging in deep. So you're going to be wanting to use the language that we talked about in week 1, the different literary devices and different literary terms. Those are things that you'll want to use in this essay. And this is an important thing to think about in this point of the course, because we're going to be adding on to each of these steps. So we have the common language. We're now digging into these literary texts, looking for text evidence that helps support one of these prompts that you're going to be writing about. And then in the upcoming weeks, you're going to be learning about literary theories that's going to help support any kind of argument or discussions that we're having. Then you're also going to be looking at research in the GMC library that's going to support any kind of theory. And all of that is culminating, all of these different steps are culminating into the larger paper that we have in week 7, the research essay. So these different steps that we're taking these first several weeks of the course are helping you to build and be ready for that larger essay. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you're working on that. So make sure that you're reading through the directions carefully on here. I'm not going to read through the prompts for you because you're just going to choose one of these 4 prompts with the stories that we've already read in the class in weeks 1 and 2. And then, but everything that you do in this class is always going to be in MLA style because that's what is used in English classes. And there's information here in the course about it. The formatting, how your paper is going to look follows MLA formatting, including double spacing. You need to have a heading with all the correct information, a title using page numbering and a common font. So it's going to be about 1,000 words, which is about 2 to 3 pages to kind of give you an idea. And anytime you're writing an essay, you're following the same pattern. You may have learned this in your younger educational years, like the hamburger method. That's a good place to start when you're thinking about the whole of an essay. You have to start with the very beginning. You have to start with an introduction and a thesis statement, and that kind of is going to be the roadmap for the rest of the essay. Okay, so you may have heard about that being the top bun. That's the top of your essay. It's the thing that's going to start what you're going to be discussing. And then those middle parts, you need to have the body paragraphs, and those paragraphs are going to be organized that they refer back to what you have outlined in the thesis. And then each paragraph is going to be about one of those parts of the topic that you're talking about. So you may have heard that that's your middle part of your sandwich. And then you're going to end with the conclusion that is, summarizing the main points. Either you've had some kind of, you want to provide a closing context or insight into what you've been discussing. Just making sure you're kind of revisiting that. So it's all a nice, neat little package. Okay. So you always want to make sure that everything is grammatically correct. And, you do have free tutoring here at GMC. I recommend that to all students, no matter, if you, in all students. I just recommend it to all students, especially if you do not have somebody else to read over your paper. Okay, so please reach out anytime you have any questions. And remember, keep track of the due dates, and we'll be good to go. So have fun this week, and I will see you in class.